to have a dialogue, to have a debate on a different.
Hello and welcome. I'm Kriti Mehta and you're watching the World Report on NewsX World. We'll start with a check of the top headlines this hour. US President Donald Trump says that Venezuela's interim authorities will turn over 30 million to 50 million barrels of sanctioned oil to the US to be sold at market price. Trump said the funds from the sales will be controlled by US. Venezuela's interim president Delcy Rodriguez says that her government is fully in charge of the country and denied that any foreign power governs it, pushing back against US President Donald Trump's statement that Washington would run Venezuela. Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado vows to return quickly and praises Donald Trump for toppling Nicolas Maduro, but Trump appears keen to work with interim President Delcy Rodriguez for now, adding to uncertainty in Venezuela. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer says the UK and France would send troops to Ukraine in event of a peace deal. UK, France and Ukraine signed declaration of intent. Activists say at least 35 people are killed and over 1,200 detained as protests continue across Iran with no sign of stopping. Reports say unrest has spread nationwide as authorities and security forces also report injuries amid rising tensions. 4 people killed in clashes between government personnel and Kurdish-led forces in Aleppo, with both sides blaming each other. State media says a defense ministry member died, while reports say 2 women were killed. China is reviewing Meta's $2 billion purchase of AI firm Manus over possible technology export control issues, a move that could give Beijing leverage over the deal. Alright viewers, let's start with the top focus now. US President Donald Trump has openly warned Republican lawmakers that his political future hinges on the party's performance in the 2026 midterm elections, asserting that a loss of control in the US House of Representatives would inevitably lead to his impeachment by Democrats. Speaking at a House Republican caucus retreat in Washington, Trump said that Democrats would look for any pretext to initiate impeachment proceedings if the Grand Old Party failed to retain its slim House majority. He also emphasized that victory was essential to prevent what he described as politically motivated action against him. Let's listen in to that statement from Trump.
You got to win the midterms, because if we don't win the midterms, it's just going to be, they'll find a reason to impeach me. I'll get impeached.
All right, joining me in this discussion now is Matthew Wadham, who's an American journalist and joins us from Washington, D.C. Thanks, Matthew, for joining me in this discussion. Please explain to us the context in which Trump is making that statement. Is he fully aware that any loss of significant margin could, claim his position as?
Is he aware that if any laws are passed that the public favors that could help his position? If that's what you're asking me, yes, he is. And he is encouraging Republicans in Congress to present a united front and support his policies.
Yeah, so please go on to explain us the context in which he's making these statements. Does he know that his campaign in Venezuela is what is going to risk his position?
I don't think the military action he took in Venezuela is putting his position in danger with Republicans in the United States Congress. I think that a lot of Republicans would prefer that he put more effort into domestic policies, such as reducing the cost of living and and inflation and so on. I think those pocketbook issues are what Republicans in Congress are more concerned about, and they wish that he wasn't just focusing so much on foreign affairs like Venezuela and Gaza and Ukraine and Iran and so on. They would prefer that he do things that help the American people go about their daily lives more easily, more comfortably. And I think that's where, you're getting a lot of grousing from Republicans at the moment.
All right, and is there any foresight on who could possibly be in lead in these elections?
Well, I've seen polls that are all over the place. And so I don't, normally the party that wins the White House, if it controls Congress, it loses control in the midterm congressional elections that happen 2 years later. So that, it doesn't always happen, but it happens most of the time. And, it looks like that is what is going to happen right now. But there are other factors that make that outcome less clear, such as gerrymandering at the state level, where gerrymandering is a political science term in America. It means changing the districts, the electoral district boundaries in states to favor a particular party or a particular constituency.
Sure.
Like for example, Texas redistricted the whole state to give Republicans an advantage. And balancing against that, California recently redistricted the state to give Democrats more of an advantage. California and Texas are both large states, and how people vote there has a big impact on who controls Congress. And the Republicans have a narrow majority in the House of Representatives right now, and a Republican congressman just died yesterday from California, so that reduced it to, I think the Republicans have a bare majority of around 218 out of 435, and that's the minimum that they need. Well, it's not 435 because the fellow died, but 218 out of the usual number is 435, and so they have a bare working majority that allows them to continue to control the agenda of the House of Representatives. So it's getting very tight, and there could be other things that change that affect the result. There's a big case pending before the U.S. Supreme Court right now about race-based redistricting out of the Deep South, and if the Supreme Court may rule in favor of the Republican position. It's not a done deal, but it's possible that the Supreme Court will rule in favor of the Republican position, and that would give the Republicans more seats. Then there are Democrats in other states like Virginia that want to redistrict and wipe out Republican seats to create more Democratic seats. And there's even talk in Maryland where Republicans only have one member of the U.S. House delegation that they'd like to redistrict and eliminate that Republican seat. So it's all Democrats from Maryland. So there's a lot of variables that are at play here. So it's not certain what's going to happen. But right now, based on current trends, it would appear that the Republicans would lose at least the House of Representatives. It's not clear that they would lose the Senate, just because the Senate operates under different rules. You don't have, like the House of Representatives, every member is up for re-election every 2 years. The senators' terms are 6 years, and they are staggered. So only 1/3 of the Senate gets voted on in elections every 2 years, and the Republicans seem to have an advantage there. So the Republicans, even if things don't go well for them in the House, they may still and they lose the House, they may still hang on to the Senate. Now, if they lose control of the House, I think it is a certainty that Democrats will try to impeach President Trump, and this would be his third impeachment, a record, because the Democrats really hate President Trump, and they want they seethe at the very mention of his name. That's not an exaggeration to say that, and they really want to impeach him. So they will look for any excuse, and they could use Venezuela. They could use his attack on the nuclear reactor in Iran. They could use all sorts of things as excuses to impeach him. And if they get the House back, there's a good chance they will impeach him. Of course, the Senate will probably not convict him, but still, it's not a good thing to have everybody fighting over impeachment. It's not good for the country.
Indeed, we hope so, but let's watch out how that goes later this year. But thanks very much, Matthew, for joining me for now in this discussion. And with that, we're going to proceed to now news from Venezuela, where interim leadership is pushing back against Washington, insisting no foreign power is running the country following the capture of Nicolas Maduro. Interim President Delcy Rodriguez says authority remains firmly in Caracas even as President Trump signals control over Venezuelan oil exports. The standoff comes as Venezuela declares a week of mourning for military personnel killed during the U.S. attack, with confirmed losses among senior officers. In response, Rodriguez has announced the creation of a new high command to protect strategic and productive sectors aimed at keeping food supplies and industry functioning. Meanwhile, border crossings between Venezuela and Colombia remain open despite rising security concerns as Colombian forces deploy additional troops. The developments underscore deepening political turmoil, regional tension, and uncertainty over Venezuela's future direction. Let's first hear the statement.
Y desde acá, un mensaje a nuestros jóvenes mártires que dieron su vida en la defensa de nuestro país. Jóvenes mártires, he tomado la decisión de decretar un duelo de 7 días en honor y gloria a los jóvenes, mujeres, hombres que murieron, que ofrendaron su vida defendiendo a Venezuela, defendiendo al presidente Nicolás Maduro. Para ellos, nuestro reconocimiento. Me ha perforado el alma las imágenes de los cuerpos inertes, pero yo sé que ellos se martirizaron por valores supremos de esta gente.
El pueblo venezolano se mantiene firme, se mantiene activo. En lo personal, quienes me amenacen, lo digo. Mi destino no lo decide, sino Dios. Esa es mi respuesta. Así que, venezolano, venezolana, sigamos trabajando para que este 2026 podamos decir al cierre, hemos cumplido como país en unión nacional. Hemos cumplido los venezolanos y las venezolanas, todos los sectores productivos, hemos cumplido a nuestro pueblo y a nuestra patria. Y queda entonces instalado el Estado Mayor Agroalimentario, Industrial y Comunal de Agricultura y Tierra y el ministro Ángel Prado, ministro de Comunidad.
Daniela Bloom, who's a political commentator, joins us now from Los Angeles in this discussion. Thanks very much, Daniela, for making yourself available for this conversation. Now, Trump, of course, relentless in his campaign, his military action and the aftermath of it in Venezuela. But Rodriguez is making some strong statements saying no foreign power will be allowed. But this is also coming at a time when Trump is saying that U.S. and, Washington and Caracas have reached a deal to export over $2 billion worth of oil to U.S. to fund his action in Venezuela.
Yes, that is what's happening. It's a developing story. And Maria Machado, the opposition leader, is on her way back to Venezuela as soon as possible. We can see it from the people of Venezuela celebrating all over the world that this was a long time coming, that they are being liberated. And this is a wonderful side effect to the strategy that Trump has it is wonderful to see hope again to the civilians of Venezuela. But of course, there is strategy in Trump's capture of Maduro. Maduro has direct ties with China, with Russia, with Iran and their proxies, Hezbollah and Hamas. So this is a matter of national security and strategy. And again, Trump is showing the world what he's capable of. And we are seeing what's next.
Talking of Maria Machado, let's not forget that she had issued a statement sometime after her Nobel Peace Prize reception that it was the US that had helped her flee Venezuela and arrive at Norway. With her returning to Venezuela, is there going to be any change of status quo?
That is what the hope is. The people should have a right to fair elections, and Maria Machado is a much better fit to execute the will of the people. She is a partner with the Trump administration. She already feels that Venezuela has indeed been invaded by bad actors who don't share Western values. And this is a very historic change, an unprecedented change, an incredible operation. Not one American life was lost. This was a pristine and timely done operation. And other world leaders should take notice, especially the leaders of Iran.
Right. Let's also take into account here the fact that Trump has said that Machado is not a very popular leader, as much as there may have been an affinity between the two officially. But let's be clear, do you think Trump is really going to allow Machado to govern the country?
I don't think Trump acts without strategy. I don't think he will so willingly give away too much power too soon. We see this with him getting involved with Gaza. You don't want to give too much power back in a vulnerable area where other bad actors, loyalists to Maduro, can take over. But I trust behind the scenes that Trump's communication with Machado will be effective for everybody.
All right, stay on with me, Daniela. Let's tell our viewers some more news that's coming in. Venezuelan opposition leader Machado says she plans to return home as soon as possible following the capture of Nicolas Maduro. Machado is a Nobel Peace Prize winner for her fight against dictatorship, says she intends to push for free and fair elections and believes the opposition would win decisively in a genuine vote. She rejected interim leadership in Caracas, calling for national unity and democratic reforms. Machado also praised recent U.S. actions against Maduro's government, describing them as a step for freedom and humanity. Daniela, this is clearly a change in a stance as far as Machado is concerned. And we just discussed the statements that had come in from Trump as far as Machado is concerned. He said that she is not a popular leader, does not have enough respect to govern a country like Venezuela. Then there was also a statement that had come from Venezuela, from Marco Rubio, who said that holding elections at this time would not be very prudent. It's rather too soon. When do you think the country will be in a position of a slight normalcy, at least as much as it could hold its election and install a new leader that Trump would be happy to collaborate with?
Yes. Well, we have to judge by action, not by words. And these loyalists are trying to puff out their chests. But at the end of the day, they understand that they are no match for Trump and what they're capable of. It is in their best interest to calm down, to become more democratic, to not be such authoritarians. The Venetian economy has collapsed. There is no freedom of speech. There is no good health care. There's a lot of questions about the concerns of a humanitarian crisis with the rise of sex trafficking, not to mention that Venezuela aids cocaine as one of its main exports. And I think everyone, especially the Trump administration, needs to see some significant shifts before anything can be solidified. So I know that Machado is a big fan of President Trump. In fact, she wanted to give up her Nobel Peace Prize to Trump. So I know she has a lot of respect and admiration for him, and as does he of her. But this is just a brand new situation with Maduro now on American soil. Let's see how things pan out.
All right, Daniela, do stay on with me. Let's also tell viewers what Trump is now saying. The White House, in fact, says that Trump is looking at a number of ideas for acquiring Greenland from Denmark, and using the U.S. military is always an option. As per White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, the president and his team are discussing a range of options to pursue this important foreign policy goal, and of course utilizing the US military is always an option at the commander-in-chief's disposal. Meanwhile, Denmark's foreign minister says a meeting with Washington's top diplomat Marco Rubio should clear up certain misunderstandings. Earlier, Greenland said that it and Denmark had called for a speedy meeting with Rubio after US President Donald Trump renewed his claim on the self-governing Danish territory in the Arctic. Daniela, what are the plans that Trump and his team may be looking at as far as acquiring Greenland is concerned? What are the options? Of course, there is a military force that can be deployed, as we saw in Venezuela, but are there any legal means that could be deployed? Is there any possibility of a dialogue? Will Denmark be allowing this? Will the European Union leaders not voice their opposition? How is Trump going to proceed on this plan without the use of military force?
I don't think there will be any military force whatsoever. I think you're dealing with Western governments, unlike Maduro or Iran or China or Russia. Diplomacy will work in this case. I think there is some major concern of Greenland being in the Arctic part of the world, which becomes vulnerable to Russia. Putin has not been the best in cooperation. Russia and Ukraine are still at war several years later. Again, Trump is America first, but he also is not a war hawk. He does not like to start wars. He likes to end wars. I absolutely agree with Marco Rubio. There is a conversation that needs to be had. There has been some misunderstandings, and I trust that diplomacy will work in this case.
All right, thanks, and Daniela, for joining me in this discussion. We'll watch out how that goes. For our viewers, let's proceed and tell you that French President Emmanuel Macron says that he does not believe the U.S. would move to violate Denmark's sovereignty after President Donald Trump's renewed claims on the self-governing Danish territory of Greenland. His remarks comes as President Trump renewed his claims on the Arctic territory, and he is even discussing a range of options to pursue this idea. All right.
So consistent with what I said, yes, Maduro will, Macron also believes that this can be resolved through.
All right, let's have her on the screen, please.
Oh, sorry.
Sure, please go ahead.
Yes, so I do believe Macron's words are in alignment. I think this can absolutely be solved with diplomacy, and it's important that the Trump administration show that they are a good partner in NATO. There is consistency there because everyone wants to feel secure in where the U.S. stands with European nations, and I have every confidence in the world that Marco Rubio will smooth over what is needed in diplomacy.
All right. Thanks, and Daniela, once again for weighing in your opinion. It was a pleasure to have you. And with that, viewers, let's proceed. Now, Chinese Commerce Ministry has said that China has banned exports of dual-use items to Japan that can be used for military purposes. This move comes after a reaction by Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi's remarks about Taiwan. Dual-use items are goods, software, or technologies that have both civilian and military applications, including certain rare earth elements that are essential for making drones and chips. Japan's foreign ministry has said that Japan strongly protested the measures and demanded China to withdraw them. The ministry has called the move absolutely unacceptable and deeply regrettable, and also said that the measures targeted only Japan and that they deviate significantly from international practice. However, Japan's Chief Cabinet Secretary Minoru Kihara has responded. Let's hear it.
我が国のみをターゲットにした今般の措置というものは、国際的な慣行と大きく異なり、決して許容できず、極めて遺憾であります。外務省、経済産業省及び在中国大使館から中国側に対して、その旨の申し入れを行い、強く抗議するとともに、措置の撤回を求めたところであります。
Meanwhile, Taiwan Affairs Office has said that China will be taking punitive actions against the 3 Taiwanese for their involvement in separatist activities related to Taiwan independence. According to reports, one of the people was named as an accomplice in separatist activities and will be held accountable for life, and 2 of the others, as well as their relatives, will be banned from entering the mainland, Hong Kong and Macau. I request Dr. Satoru Nagao, who is a fellow at the Hudson Institute, to join me in this discussion with his comments. Dr. Nagao, please go ahead.
In this case, this restriction China imposed only Japan is including wide variety of products. So including layers to the parts of the product. But we should not forget one important thing. So if the China restricts, not only Japan, but also China will suffer the damage. Because if China cannot sell the parts of the products, China cannot get the money. So that's why indeed China hasn't published any specific product is related with this restriction. Why? Because China still checking which one is effective and beneficial, and they are calculating a benefit also. But at the same time, indeed, this publication itself is indeed not economic sanction or military-related sanction. Indeed, this is political sanctions. Because since Prime Minister Takaichi revealed the fact, which is if the crisis has happened in the Taiwan, this is just in front of Japan, and Japan need to choose a side. And in this case, there is a high possibility that Japan will join the US to protect Taiwan. So China upset very much, but at the same time, this is an exploitable situation to check the weak point of the PM Takaichi government by using the pressure. So one by one they impose, but they haven't found any weak point of the Japan side. So that's why now they start to commit economic sanction. In this case, the background of the Takaichi government is, of course, supported from the business circle. So imposing sanctions to the business circle, and the business circle will be the worry about their business and make pressure to PM Takaichi government. That is taking. So which industry, which product is effective weak point of the PM Takaichi, China want to know. So that's why firstly they publish the will to restrict dual use technology. After that, which dual use is matter, one by one they impose sanction and test the PM Takaichi's weak point. That is what they want to do. So that's why I said this is quite a political sanction against Japan.
All right, sure. Thanks very much, Dr. Nagao, for joining me in this discussion with your comments then. And with that, viewers, we're going to wrap up our bulletin with some technology news. Now, Nvidia CEO confirmed that China won't make any formal announcement about approving imports of Nvidia's H200 chips. Jensen Huang added that Nvidia is already ramping up production of H200 chips for customers in China because demand is very strong. According to him, the supply chain is active and H200 chips are already moving out. Nvidia also introduced a new set of chips that will power its next Vera Rubin generation of AI systems. Nvidia is targeting about $500 billion in sales from both the current Blackwell chips and the upcoming Vera Rubin chips by the end of this year. The company is already talking with customers about big data center plans for 2027. He expects a huge year working with Taiwan Semiconductor on manufacturing and plans to visit Israel soon. Added that his decisions are not influenced by politics or Trump-related connections. Alright, that's all we have time for. Do keep watching NewsX World for all international news and updates.